Hi guys and welcome back to askNK. In today's video we'll be talking about Vroid and a couple of questions that has been asked about this app. I would actually talk about some things that are possible and also some things that are not possible. First and foremost, yes, there is a mail character that you can create with this app. Yes, you can export this app, and yes, you can add extra animations to this app. I think I've just cleared a couple of questions you guys asked. Some things do not work outside the app. Things like the animation do not work outside the app. Things like the rigs do not work outside the app, especially with the method which we're using to export this. And other things do not work, like the textures are limited. And then if you're excited about this and you want to learn something, grab a coffee, grab a nut, grab a seat, and let's get started. So we have Vroid open here, and we're going to simply create a new avatar by clicking on the plus button. So if you click on this plus button, you would be able to see this. And if you want to get Vroid or you want to see where you can download it, link is going to be in the description. You can check out the other video about Vroid where we took an in-depth dive on how you can work with the models directly here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the male character, and with the male character created, let's give it some time to load. Yeah, so we have a male character here. So the big difference between having a male character and a female character is very simple. The male character only has one mode of dressing, all right? Like the female character which we had before had various uniforms or various clothes, but with the male character we only have this cloth and then the base model. So if I simply go ahead and switch this to base model, all right, you're going to notice that we have this nicely looking character, all right? So we have this character here as a base model, and then if you want to clothe this model, you want to create other accessories for this model, you can take this model over to Marvelous Designer and make your clothing there, or you can take this model to apps like Maya and all that to make your clothing there. Links in the description where you can find amazing tutorials if you are interested in Marvelous Designer. So now we're done with this, or let's say we want to get this base model. Let's look at the feet. All right, that's cool. If we want to take out this base model and use it, all we need to do is go over to export. But just for nudity's sakes, I would go ahead, all right, and add a couple of clothes to this character. So I'll go over to the uniform, and directly here within the uniform, I would switch this because we don't want to give him some top. Go back to accessories. Within the accessories, we don't want him to have that tie, so I'm taking that out. And there we have this character. And if you want to add animations to this directly here in Vroid, you can add animations if you want. All right, so you can go over to this part where we have pose and animation, and then you can, you know, put the animations that you want. If you want to pose this character, let's say give it a certain pose before you export this. Let's say you want to give this character a certain pose before you export this. You can go ahead and give this character a certain pose. So depending on the pose which you want, you can do whatever pose that you want and export this character based off the pose that you want it to have. This has a given IKFK just like Akitsu, so you have that IKFK thingy going on there, so you can simply do all of those amazing stuff here. So let's say we're done with this and we are comfortable with what we have. The next thing which you want to do is just simply hit export. So we're just going to go ahead and reset this pose the way it is and come over to the export and hit export. So if you have hair, let's say you've gone through to the editor and you've made a couple of hair, and how you make hair is by just simply clicking and dragging, and you know, that way you can make very impressive and amazing hair. All right, so if you've made hair like this hair would export as OBJ and as quads. All right, so we don't need the hair. I actually don't need that right now, so let's undo this. So if you want to have hair, of course you can come add up the hair here if you want, and you can make all the hair changes that you want, but we just want this basic model the way it is, and then we're going to simply hit export. You can go in and fill up all this if you want to fill these things up, and once it's done you can just simply hit OK. For us, we just want to leave it the way it is, and I'm going to hit OK. I will come through and save it directly here in my system reserve, and I'm going to save it as anime_dude. All right, I'm going to save it as anime_dude. If you want to see other things that has to do with how you know play with this character way more, then of course you should check out the other video. Link is still going to be in the description. So now that we have this awesome dude here, you know, all flashy and nice looking. What we can do now is we need to go over to the directory where we saved this. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and pop that open and show you how you can import this into any 3D app of your choice, and you know, you can go ahead and use it for whatever you want. All right, so we are here directly in our system reserve, and we have this file here called anime dude. So what I'm going to do is just make a copy and make a paste of this. Right click here, go over to where I have rename, and I'm going to change this name to GLB. GLB is an open source file format that most applications accept. So if you have Wings 3D on your computer, if you have Blender on your computer, if you actually have Windows 3D Builder, of course you can use it to open up this file. All right, so I'm just going to change this, and if you cannot find this on your PC, if you cannot find the extension file, right, if you cannot see the dot extension name, if you go over to this part where you have the view, you can turn this on, and once you turn this on, you would be able to see that. All right, so if you cannot see this, then you'll be able to see that from here. All right, so once you have that done, if I turn this off, you can see we don't have that. If I turn this on, now you can see we have this. All right, so once you have this, I'm just going to simply double click to fire this up, and we have Windows 3D Builder open, and you can see our model is here, but there are certain issues with the model which we're going to fix later, but let's just address them now. First and foremost, you would notice that certain parts of the model, like the eyes for example, are a bit too large. The reason is because there is a transparency map that is driving the eye here, but because this doesn't understand that, so we cannot see this. So with this done and ready to go, the next thing which we're going to do is to simply export this as OBJ. And exporting as OBJ would also export the materials. So the best tool which I think we can use to rig this real quick and also add some animations to it, something that we can use, is Mixamo. So we'll go over to file, go to save as, and because we want to save it here, I'm just going to save this as anime dude. I'm taking out this entire file name and I'm going to select OBJ. All right, so with OBJ selected, I'm going to save the first mesh, which is OBJ, and then it's going to require me to save the MTL file. And so in case you don't know what MTL means, it simply means material library. So I'm going to save that, and it's asking me to save the textures that are assigned with it. So I'm just going to click save, save, save. All right, so we'll just keep doing this until we're done with all of the saving that we want. All right, so now that we're done, you can see that we've saved all our files. Next thing which we're going to do is to go over, all right, we would go over to Mixamo. So you need a Mixamo account, and Mixamo was an online rigging service company that used to exist previously on its own before Adobe actually bought them. So we're just going to go ahead and fire up our browser, and then we would launch Mixamo. And with Mixamo open, what we're going to do is just simply sign in, and then we would come over to this part and hit upload new character. So if you don't have an Adobe account, you need to create one. It's for free, all right? So it's for free, and that way you can access Mixamo. If you look at the character that is here in the viewport, it was the old character which we used one time. You know, link is also going to be in the description in case you want to see how we created this character without modeling a single thing. All right, so there is an app that you can use in making free characters, and we use that app in creating this amazing character. All right, so let's go ahead and hit upload directly here, and then we would go through, just simply open this up, and we're going to pick out the OBJ file. So we're just clicking, dragging this OBJ and dropping it directly there, and the OBJ file will automatically upload. And once it's done, Mixamo will launch the auto rigger, and with the auto rigger we would be able to, you know, place points where they are supposed to be. And once we do that, it will calculate the mesh and also calculate the waiting points, which in turn does automatic skinning and all that amazing stuff. All right, so if we don't like the way our character is, we can rotate this character. I think I'm rotating this character wrongly. All right, so we have our character here. I'm just going to go ahead and hit next. So with this, you can see it's actually asking us to position stuff where we where we would like the bones to be created. So that should be the chin, and this should be the wrist. I think the wrist should be here. All right, so let's just see if we can snap that properly into position. And then for the elbow looks really far off, so I can just position that just about there, maybe somewhere like here. Hopefully that works. And for the knee is very easy to spot. And then for the groin, so it's a good thing we actually gave him cloth. All right, so we have this done, and we're selecting the most number of skeletons that we want. Then we're going to hit next. This is insanely nice. It's insanely nice because it takes away all the hassles of you rigging and skinning and making sure you have the proper joint placement and, you know, the proper joint orientation. Automatically this thing just does the job for you. So you basically just need a PC and an internet for you to be an automatic rigger. All right, but this works best when it has to do with bipeds. For things like quadrupeds and mechanical stuff, of course you need to learn how to rig to make these things work. Else, man, you can just simply do these things by yourself directly here on your browser. So let's see what happens. I think it's done processing, and you can see how much time it's saving for all of us now. So it's saving us less than 15 minutes, right? So it's saving us 15 minutes worth of time, depending on how fast you are when it comes to attaching joints to your character. All right, so we have this character here. I don't really like the way this is. All right, I don't really like the way this is, but then I think we can just go with it since this is an automatic rig and it is a tutorial. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and have something like that. All right, our character seems to be lying flat all the time, I think because it thinks this is the basic pose that it should have. All right, so next thing which I'm going to do is find a motion, and let's actually select this motion and see how this motion would work for our character. All right, so we have this motion, and this motion seems really cool. I would come through and actually find something that looks combat-like and fantasy-like. Since it's an anime character, I think it's gonna make sense. I actually think we should go for something more fantasy-like. All right, let's see. All right, so I think I found the one that I like. I think this is really nice. I can use this, or we can actually use this other one. No, but I think this is way better. I think this might be way better since it's an anime character. I think it matches what it's doing. Yeah, I think that is a much more better one, more like an enchant thing going on there. So let's go ahead and hit download for this. So I'm just gonna hit download. Thank you very much for FBX. Give us a skin, of course. 30 frames looks good. Yeah, maybe we can make it 24, 30. It doesn't really matter. All right, so I'm going to hit download. All right, so let's wait for this to download, and I would like to take this over to Blender to open it up in Blender. Blender is an amazing app you should try. You can also load this in Marmoset or Maya, but or maybe I should just load it in 3D Studio Max because I have my 3D Studio Max open here. So I think it might be cool to actually, you know, load it directly here. So we have 3D Studio Max opened here. Let's just go ahead and open this all the way up, and then what will I do? All right, so next which I'm going to do is just go ahead and drag this directly in here. All right, and just simply hit the import file. So hopefully this imports properly, and we can play back our animation and see what we have. All right, so for this, let's just move around, press F on my keyboard, and I'm sorry if I'm using the wrong keys that are not your typical 3D Max keys. I actually had to switch the integration to Maya. All right, I kind of work better with that than working with the, you know, the pre-designed 3D Studio Max keys. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and press the playback button and see what happens. All right, so we have our animation playing back. Really cool, nice stuff. I like it a lot. Right, so we would go ahead and let's actually turn this down. Right, I think this is where it stops. So I'm just going to click on this tiny button here and just set it to end time should be probably 81, or let's just make it 82 for lapses sake. All right, so I'm just going to turn this down to that and just simply hit OK. So let's press one more time the playback button. and see what we have. All right, so this looks kind of cool. Next thing you want to do is to attach textures to this model. All right, so how can we attach textures to this model? If we decide to start throwing in textures here, I think it's best to actually show you guys down to tail. First of all, let's go over and open up the material editor. You can fire this up by pressing M on your keyboard. Material editor is the same thing as the hypershade if you're coming from Maya, and is the same thing as your shading panel if you're coming from Blender, or your material editor as well if you're coming from Cinema 4D. All right, so we have something like this. So what I'm going to do is I would actually right click, go over to material. I would like to get a standard material, and I'm going to position this here. And what happens is if I go over to where we have our textures all saved out, and I think it's cool to actually load up a couple of them. Let's just drag them and drop here. All right, so if I pick this up and connect this to the diffuse and select this diffuse, or select this now, right click and assign to this particular selection, you would notice automatically, so I'm just going to actually turn this on so that we can be able to see the shading. So you just need to come through, click over to standard. Let's make this high quality first, material, and then we're going to turn this on. So we want to actually see this shaded with material, or you can actually turn realistic with material. Of course, you'll be able to take a peek at it. You can also see that we have some smoothing group issues going on here. You can choose to fix that, but now we want to actually work on the textures. So you need to select these things individually and assign textures to them. All right, if you choose not to do that, this is the result you're going to get. Okay, it is just not your problem. It is a problem from the Vroid app. So how do we do this? I'm going to start with one, and then I'll time lapse the other one so that it's going to be a bit faster for all of us. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm just going to go through, select this, and our model should be on the floor by default. All right, and I'm also going to come through and select this entire piece, and I'm going to right click here and assign just this particular selection. Okay, so let's switch this from material to shaded with maps so that we can take a look. All right, so we have this there. All right, working perfectly fine. We're going to do the third one. All right, so the third one should be the pants. Let me just quickly do this. All right, so what we have here, we have gone ahead to actually assign some of these material. You can take your time later to actually fix these other ones, especially if you want to use this for animation or something. Yeah, you can take your time to fix these other ones. If you want to create retopology for this, it's quite easy to actually do your retopology. But then my big advice for you is this automatically deforms. I think it has all you would be needing for a retopology, so it deforms properly. So I don't really think you should go ahead and start creating retopology for this. It deforms really cool, except maybe you want to sculpt or do some extra things on top of this model. But so far so good. I think it actually does well. So we're going to go through and add up an extra layer of stuff. So I think we can add the open subdiv just to smooth this character all the way out. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and add subdivision. The subdivision doesn't really work on this part. The reason is because this should be a different mesh, but for some reason it is still one unified mesh with this, and at the same time this mesh is not something you can touch. Not touch in the sense that you cannot touch it, but you cannot grab onto the entire mesh at once. You can only select various or individual islands one at a time. So with this done, you can just simply go ahead and press the playback button and see your animation, play all the way back. So this is how you can make your stuff and add extra animations to it. You can go ahead and make extra changes if you want. You can still use this. You can change the eyes if you want. You can change the eyebrows. You can do all of those you know, those insane things that you would like to do. But so far so good. This is what it looks like, and I would like to know what you guys think about this in the comment section. Would you like to use this tool? Do you think this process is cool for you? Do you think this is going to make your life a little bit more easier? Did I try to answer some of your questions? I would like to know what you guys think about this in the comment section below. And if you like this video, you know what to do. Hit the like button, turn on notification, and if you're new here, it's going to be amazing if you can just hit the subscribe button and also turn on notifications so you don't miss the next video. And until I see you guys again with a tutorial, update, review, tips and tricks, things like this, peace.